Hey church, let me talk to you for a few minutes about me as a church member at Grand Avenue Baptist Church. I mean, it's true I'm the pastor, but I'm also a member. My family is a member here. My kids are members here. I want you to know, as a member of this church, I am incredibly excited about Beyond Measure. This is the opportunity I have been waiting for as a member to do something substantial in terms of generational stewardship for our church. Beyond Measure requires one heart, it requires one mind, it requires one passion, and ultimately, it's going to require one covenant. I'm excited as a member, and I'm excited as a pastor. I want you to be excited too. Are you ready for God to take us beyond measure?
This is a very, very family-oriented church. And my husband and I have 4 children, and when we started coming to this church, we fell in love with it immediately.
They're truly good friends, and they support you in prayer and needs and times that you have situations that come along that you need that.
Us being from out of state and around, you know, this really is our family. We don't have anyone in the immediate area, and we just feel really connected.
25 years ago, I came to Fort Smith, Arkansas. I came here for a job. And shortly thereafter, I found Grand Avenue, and I've been here ever since.
You know, one of the reasons I was so excited about coming back to Grand Avenue Baptist Church to become the pastor here was because this church meant so much to me as I was growing up. I was saved in this church, I was baptized in this church, called to ministry in this church. So much of my spiritual DNA is all about this church. And I went away for 20 years, went to seminary, got married, had a family. But to come back and have the opportunity to give something back to the church that gave so much to me, not very many people get this opportunity. But now there's Beyond Measure. Now there's the opportunity for my generation to give back in a way that I've been able to ride the coattails of previous generations. You know, these facilities that we have are so fantastic, and I remember the first campaigns to build this church. But to now have the opportunity, my generation, to give back, it's phenomenal. I got to tell you, in some ways, I really believe that this is why God called me back to Grand Avenue Baptist Church. What does it take for a church to raise $3.6 million? Well, first of all, it takes more than money. It takes to begin with prayer. We've got to get on the same page. We've got to find that one heart and that one mind and that one passion. And that, I firmly believe, begins with all of us praying. So we're asking you to pray about what God would have you do as part of this covenant, and what God would do in your heart on a spiritual level. Engage the vision. I've said that before, and then join the spiritual journey, because this is so much more than dollars and cents and bricks and mortar and paint and that sort of thing. This is a spiritual exercise for our church family. I firmly believe that what God's going to do through Beyond Measure is going to lay a spiritual foundation for this church that's going to go beyond just the 3 years. It's going to go into the next generation. And we're talking a marathon here. We're not talking a sprint. We're talking about God's people getting on the same page for yes, the 3-year covenant period, but really for much more than that, for something that goes beyond even 3 years. These are exciting days.
I think in order for this Beyond Measure campaign to be successful, it will take everybody's part, every member in our church, to spend time with the Lord and really have a deep prayer life with Him. And I know that's something that we all talk about is, you know, we'll say, okay, I'll pray for you about this, I'll pray about that, but really what does that mean to have a deep prayer life? And just really listening to the Lord and what He has specifically for our lives in this situation.
I feel that Grand Avenue right now, I feel like we're as healthy as we've been in a long, long time. I feel like we're really poised for growth. And I would tell people that if you're coming around right now, that you're coming at the perfect time. Because I think that there's really good things, really great things in store. I think this church has the leadership in place, a great mix of young leadership as well as seasoned veterans who've seen things and been there and done that.
I am so excited about the vision that Pastor Jeff has laid out for the church for Beyond Measure. When he was talking about it in church on that Sunday morning, I remember thinking to myself, he is so right, because it is my generation's time. This is my time. The reason that impressed me so much is because when I was a child, my mother was actually on the committee that served in the sanctuary that we're sitting in today.
You know, some people might say, how are we going to do this right now? I mean, and why now? I mean, the economy is in the pits. How can we go about raising $3.6 million now? I would say now's the perfect time. Now is the time that whatever happens, it will be obvious that it's God. And you know, it's been 27 years since our church has traveled this road, since we've gone down this path to try to do something like this. It's time. The time is now. And as I've said before, you know, the work of the eternal kingdom is never dependent upon man's temporary condition. Yeah, you know, the economy's bad, but are we going to wait till Wall Street hits a certain level before we say, hey, we're going to do something for God? Or are we going to let God do something through us, and we'll all step back and look and say, that was God. That was not us. This is beyond us. This is beyond measure. I know that one of the things that people are really struggling with is, what is my part? Exactly what am I supposed to give, or am I expected to give? You know, let me say first of all that as Christians, we're all expected to tithe to our church. And then beyond tithing, there are those special offerings that we give to either missions or to some special occasion or cause. But then there's a special category of giving. It's the sacrificial gift. It's when it's time for a church to rise up and do something extraordinary that they would never normally do. And I firmly believe Beyond Measure is that time. It's that time that it's requiring all of us to step back and say, what can we do that's beyond measure of anything we would ever even think of? You know, do I need to drive the car that I've been driving for another 3 years and put off the purchase of that new vehicle? Do I need to stay in the house that we're in instead of upgrading? Do we need to look at our budget and maybe trim some things out that aren't necessary and say, we're going to give this to God? It's really thinking outside the box, allowing God to do something truly beyond measure than what we could ever measure out on our own.
I talked with another lady, and she's been coming here for probably 30 or 40 years, and you know, the struggles in her life and the ups and downs, and you know, she's older now. She's a senior citizen, and she'll tell you, I promise you, you can't outgive him. And when you hear testimonies like that, and people that have just been faithful, and they can tell you about other projects that has come about in this church, and the struggles and what it took to meet those goals, and they're still here, and they're still saying, you just can't outgive him.
Once we get that impression, and he speaks to us in whatever way he speaks to each individual, and tells them, this is what I want you to do, we're going to have the faith to step out on that and go ahead and pledge that amount, because it will be an exciting situation to see how he provides that money that we pledged, because he can do it in so many ways.
We have this task in front of us where it's not equal giving, but it needs to be equal sacrifice. We all need to be involved. And I believe that there's another song that we sing that I've really it's come to sink in my heart before this vision that our pastor relayed to us. I'm counting on God. And we really can't do this, but we can if we count on God.
I'm excited about Beyond Measure. What is God leading you to give? What is expected? Just obey. I firmly believe that if every member of Grand Avenue Baptist Church seeks God's face and obeys God's command, that we will be amazed at how He has taken us all beyond measure.